is got rid of judges who freed Raila of sedition charges. So you must remember that time the judiciary wasn't free and fair.
Correct.
So some of the politicians today who are being exposed and in danger of legal risk are facing a greater challenge than Raila faced when he was charged. Because at that time the deals were being done at State House.
You still didn't answer my question, Tony. Can Raila still win?
Never. Elections in Kenya, he can never win. And I can tell you why. You cannot win when you don't have the content of character. You cannot win when you don't have credibility and trust. You cannot win when the king is naked. You cannot win when you are living in the past and we are living in the future. I asked you a question about my daughter. You refused to answer it. This young generation, they do not know or remember Moi.
No.
They do not know or remember those old days and the so-called reform times. Yet they are beneficiaries because this constitution is theirs. But we cannot say because Jomo Kenyatta was jailed in Kapenguria, therefore the Kenyattas own Kenya. We cannot say that because Degama Pinto was shot, Degama Pinto's family owns Kenya. We cannot say because Matiba was jailed, the Matiba family own Kenya. We cannot say because Raila Odinga had a short stint of detention that he owns the reform movement. The reform movement is a culmination of so many people and actors, and many of them quiet. Wangari Maathai, the late professor, with her fight at Karura Forest, up to a Nobel Peace Prize. Don't you think, in my view, in the radar of reform, she's higher than Raila?
Yeah, but people don't see
No,
that.
but I put it to you.
Yeah,
Do you think what makes Raila the leader of the reform movement? What gives him that credential? Is he greater in the ladder of reform than Matiba, who almost died in the process? Is he greater in the radar of reform than Timothy Joya? Is he larger in the radar of reform than the first ones to be killed, like Robert Ouko? Is he higher in the radar of reforms, like the people who were killed, like J.M. Kariuki, who began to fight when dictatorship was real?
That's right.
So if J.M. Kariuki doesn't matter, you mean Raila Odinga matters? So why don't we just make J.M. Kariuki's daughter the next president on the basis of his reform agenda, if reform was the issue? So what I'm saying to you is you cannot continue demeaning or refusing that people have made sacrifices. And I put it to you, Jeff, all this is propaganda aimed at demonizing a community, demonizing certain ethnic groups in order to get political advantage. And I'm saying your 48 hours are up. You can't cheat people all the time. You can cheat them some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all of the time.
That's what Bob Marley said, right?
Jeff, I'm telling you, it's going to be a shock and awe election.
Shock and awe.
I want to tell you a story. When George Bush was the head of the USA, he called General Tommy Franks. And he said, I want us to attack Baghdad. Tommy Franks came up with Operation Shock and Awe. They were to attack from the air, the land, the sea, and under the water. The Shreth bombers were flying over Baghdad, invisible to the radar because they are invisible to the radar at a certain flying altitude. Right. The Tomahawk was firing from the sea and the Scud from the air. When the order to shoot Baghdad was given, Peter Arnett of CNN, you used to work with CNN, said the skies over Baghdad were illuminated. I want to tell you this, with Raila, we will give him Operation Shock and Awe. And this, when we start this election, this March, the airs over the skies over Kenya will be illuminated. We will fire from the air, the land, the sea, and under the water. That you can take from me.
But Tony,
but before that,
if he wins,
yeah,
you need to move out of this car.
No, I'll leave him to Meguna first. But then winning, we shall win. Yeah. But let's leave him at the level of Meguna. But he's not really at our level.
No,
not at all.
Tony, you're on fire, man. You are smoking today. Tony Gashoka.
Peeling back the mask.
Yeah. He is holding nothing back. And I tell you, if what he says is true, or if it doesn't pan out the way he said, Tony better get on a plane. Because this country, what?
Raila had run away before me. He used to live in Norway. He had run away from Moi. Maybe I'll just take the same ticket to Norway.
You simply cannot make this stuff up. Tony is ready to go to Norway. But I tell you,
Which reformer runs away? I mean, she could have, go to jail like a man. I went to jail. Go to jail like a man. Why run away? And then call yourself a reformer and sit with the man whom you are running from.
my goodness, talk about calling it. Whoa! Somebody call the fire department right now, because the bench just burned and charred thanks to Tony Gashoka. Somebody needs to tell it, folks, and if it comes as a shocker, be not surprised, because it's Tony Gashoka. You see the rhyme?
And I want to leave you with one thought.
Go on, leave me with a thought.
They loseth that do buyeth with much care.
The what?
They loseth that do buyeth with much care. This is the story of Shakespeare, of a man who saved money to have chicken every day of his life. When he had enough money to have chicken every day of his life, he had no teeth to eat the chicken. They loseth that do buyeth with much care.
You cannot find guests like Tony anywhere else. And he'll probably end up in Norway, so we'll never find him. But right now, he's on the bench on the award-winning station, K24, where we are. Even when the bench is burnt up, we're still all Kenyan.
All the time.
My brother, you blew it up. Capital Talk is filmed at Fairmont, the Norfolk.